some new songs.
Actually, I think Gaz and Ryan might take credit for it, but I think originally the concept was kind of my idea to record in a few places.
We worked with 3 different producers and we self-produced some stuff. Each time we were never in the studio for more than a couple of weeks at a time. That was good because it fostered a very spontaneous and immediate way of working, which I think was the key thing for this record.
You know, I like the idea of being in different rooms and like with different drum kits and like, you know, recording at different times and stuff like that.
We've always been the sort of band who are better when we just capture the immediacy and don't really spend too much time second guessing it or overthinking it.
We wanted to strip things back because that's fundamentally who the band is, and when we started writing it, the whole idea was like, let's get back to the essence of the band in the first place, why we started, you know, how we were feeling when we did the first record, because that's when you're at your most pure, you know, like that's where your intentions are the most defined and where, you know, your manifesto may away.
The good thing about being in a band with your brothers is the fact that I can say, hey, we're going to drive to Switzerland and we're going to record with Dave Richards, who made Innuendo. We're going tomorrow, and my brothers will be like, okay man, sure, you know.
We also started the record out in Montreux in Switzerland with David Richards, who was Queen's producer.
I was really, like, legitimately obsessed with Innuendo, the final Queen studio record. So to be out there in the place where it was conceived and recorded was pretty mind-blowing, really.
That went really good, that was fun, but in the end we couldn't finish it with Dave for various reasons.
I was chasing something that was probably not really suited to the reality of how the band works. Although it sounded great, I thought, and Dave gave us exactly what we asked for. But I think really, I've always been more comfortable with things being a little more rough around the edges.
Mass majority was recorded at Tarbox Road Studios in Casadega, New York, which is right in the middle of nowhere. We never made a record in the studio that is quite as isolated as that, so that was a new experience for us, and it was good as well, because I think that a big part of the vibe of this record was just getting back to just being us 3 brothers and trying and reconnecting in that insular way that I think that we had on, especially on the first record.
Free of distractions, you know, obviously we're sort of out in the middle of nowhere, but that works particularly well, I think, for the kind of people that come here. They want to sit down, they want to concentrate, they want to work, be able to work till 4 in the morning if they choose to, and that's come to the right place.
The other producers that we chose to go in, Dave Fridman being one of them, who we've been a big fan of for a long time, from Clouds Taste Metallic, the Flaming Lips record.
I always really liked the sound of Pink and, you know, the Weezer record. I liked that record a lot when I was growing up. You know, I got it when I was 16. Still one of my favourite records, I think. But I always loved the sound of it, and I knew that Dave Fridman did it.
Sonically, two of my favourite sounding records. When I discovered them when I was a kid, I was probably like 15 or 16, and I think at that time it was the first time I'd ever been aware of production because they sounded so dark and different to what other records that I'd listened to sounded like, sonically dark that is. That was like a real culmination for us to finally go in with Dave, and obviously he has a phenomenal drum sound which he's known for, and that's something which has always been very important to the band.
That's a lot of trial and error, but you know, the truth is, I don't have sounds, but I work with bands, I suppose in terms of drum sounds, particularly the Flaming Lips, who they like a particular aesthetic, and so we have spent the last 20 years working on honing that idea and getting exactly what we want with drums. And so consequently, a lot of people come here or want to work with me to be able to have their drums sound like that. So it's not really my idea at some point. It's the Lips and whatever other bands, it's the Cribs or whoever that I'm working with that want that sort of feel and vibe and sound.
All the other studios I've been in, like it's really, everything's really particular, and like, you know, you take ages tuning heads and setting up and getting exactly the right amount of like dampness on it and everything. Whereas Dave's just like, oh, there's a head over there, and you pick it up and it doesn't even have to be a new head, and he'll just stick it on and it'll sound, like, to me it'll sound weird, it'll just sound like kind of scrappy, and then when you listen to it through the desk, I was like, I'd have never even thought about making it sound like that, and it just sounds like, you know, in the recording, in the context, it just sounds amazing.
I just try and find out what the band wants, to the best of my ability and the best of their ability to know that, and go after it. I have no fixed idea of what sounds good or what sounds bad. It's really up to them.
He's like very relaxed, and like, you know, like as a band we've always taken a lot of, we like to kind of, because we always recorded ourselves in the early days, you know, we still kind of like to take a hands-on approach in the studio, and Dave's very open to that, you know.
He's very much about filling a lot of space. He likes to come up with a lot of interesting ideas and encourage us to come up with a lot of different things.
Dave really likes to you know, add different sonic layers and stuff, which maybe you can't necessarily pick out on the record. You know, it's purely to make things a little more exciting in a subliminal way. Dave really has that going on, and also Dave gets very invested with the record. You know that he's very involved in it, and he goes home and thinks about the songs and like comes up with like little ideas.
We sometimes hang out in the woods on a night and have a fire and stuff. And the easiest way to find the fire is you look for the big propane tank, and then right next to the propane tank is where we have the fire. We had a fire here last night.
This is a particularly unique situation where we've got three brothers, and they've got a terrific and strange rapport between them. Base knowledge. A lot of things obviously go unspoken between them. They just know and are very much on the, seeming to me at least, on the same page about what they want and how they want to go about getting it, which is not really always the case. These guys are probably more of a democracy than most bands that I work with. Usually there's a benevolent, hopefully benevolent dictator at the head of the whole thing, and everyone's happy to go along with what appears to be a good idea. So these guys are different.
As a musician or as a songwriter, when you have an idea in your head, knowing that there's someone who can translate it in the way that you originally intended is like a really precious commodity. And he liked to do it all live, which that is the major thing for us. The same thing with Albini as well, is that
It's the whole thing of like, we just go in and you just plug your amps in, you're all in the same room and you capture the whole song completely live. Like, I've never understood why anyone would want to do it any different.
These guys in particular approached me that they wanted to have a more immediate, visceral, direct interaction with the music, and the tape is definitely the way to go in that scenario, because you record it and then it's done. It's not this sort of furious nitpicking that Pro Tools propagates.
At first I was really sad about, when Johnny left, because I remember when he called me and I was like just sat at home, and the only way I can describe it, it's like he's like breaking up with a girlfriend, and I still miss having him on the road.
To have Johnny leave and for it to be something that the press picked up on and maybe, blew out of proportion a little bit.
If you're going to learn anything or open your eyes, is like having the opportunity to play for 2 years with the person who, growing up, you found the most influential is really good. That will always be an amazing experience. That'll always be something that I'm like really, really grateful for.
I think Ry once said it, and I thought he hit the nail on the head. You just got to do where the art takes you, and like if you feel like you have to make a solo record, or if we feel like we have to make a record as a three-piece, you've just got to do it.
The initial roots of the record are actually traced back to November 2010, when I set up a home studio and Ryan came out to visit. And it was just the best time, we holed up in my basement for 2 weeks and we would take road trips up to Olympia and Seattle and just, get back into that camaraderie. In that time, that's where the front cover of the record comes from, one of the hotel rooms that we stayed in where the record was conceived, basically. It's around that time, that's when we were like, oh, we should make another record as a three-piece, and this is kind of, the approach we should take. When me and Gary are alone together, we end up writing, that's just what we do. We wrote basically 2 albums worth of stuff, and so the immediacy comes from that, I think. We were staying in like really cheap motels every night. These hotel rooms are so super cheap and so scummy. It's strange how it feels kind of like a sanctuary away from the world, and yet it's actually such a bleak place. We took a photo of it and it's black and white, and we screen printed it, and then just to offset the kind of like black and white kind of moody nature, we just made a flower arrangement around it. The record title is In the Belly of the Brazen Bull, which we've had kicking around for a while. What it actually means is quite sinister and dark. It's a really quite gruesome torture and execution device from the pre-Christ era.
A big brass bull where they'd stoke a fire underneath, and the people inside would obviously be burnt to death. But I think the thing that kind of captured our attention about it is that they put like flutes in the nose of the bull so that the tortured screams from within were turned into music, and that's really not meant to be a metaphor either. I know that kind of just sounds like it there, but
quite a heavy-duty title, but there's no reference to that on the record. I just something we thought sounded cool. It captured the imagination. Just finishing up tiny little bits of lyrics because I've got to sing soon, so let's make sure everything's in order. Lyrically, it's funny because it's such a key, important aspect for us. We'll spend like equal amount of time writing the lyrics as what we do writing the music. So it took a long time because we're very self-critical, but that comes out in the lyrics, I guess. It's like, I'm not like grinding the same acts forever, but it's just self-confidence issues, silly things like that. Inferiority complexes, self-loathing bullshit.
I never really chat to him about lyrics or anything and that, because it's kind of like, I think sometimes it can be kind of a personal thing, lyrics and album titles and stuff, so, I tend not to like, get them to analyse it. I just sit back and I interpret it my own way,
I spent a long time writing the lyrics of my songs, and I wouldn't show them to anyone before I had them done, so I think a lot of people were worried whether or not I was actually writing any lyrics, but I was writing a lot, but some of them were so specific that I was kind of worried that it would be too much of a it would be letting on too much really at the time, so I'm kind of glad that I did keep him back. I'm really happy with him, and I'm happy that they were so indicative of what was going on at the time, but you know, it's nice to be a little bit, not purposefully abstract, but it's nice to leave some stuff to people's imagination. But it's so important that you're honest. You know, you allow people to see all your flaws and stuff like that. You know, that's what art is kind of supposed to be about. I don't think it's not about posturing or trying to be cool.
I think the most famous stage wear of all time.
Now I'm ready to rock. I mean, it is a good fit on the mainly, but I just like the flared sleeves. I don't understand why that is, but finding one of these in a small size was really tough as well, because for some reason they only usually make them in one size and they're enormous. So don't know why. I mean, apparently most people that want to look like a rock legend take a double XL shirt size.
And then Steve Albini was the other one, who is somebody that, well, I think he's the greatest engineer in the world, and I think he gets the greatest live sound in the world. And I love his approach and his mentality. It's very much in tandem with the way that we go about things.
2-minute explanation of how this fucking universe that they're depicting is supposed to function when you've got one class of individuals who kill and eat the other, except that they seem to be like totally fine with it. Everyone seems like totally fine with it. And you've got a society that runs somewhat normally, where half of the people can't go outside in the daytime.
The first thing we put out is Chi-Town. I went out to Chicago in 2001. I had so many unexercised demons from that time, which is like, you know, like I was moved out there and I was living with people and I was going to get married out there. And this was before the band got a record deal, and I was really happy. It was the first time I'd ever left Wakefield. Never even been to London, never been anywhere, and all of a sudden there I am. And my life has completely changed. It was really, really good, living with artists. Then the band got a record deal and that was it. It destroyed it all, you know. All the plans kind of like went out of the window. And we recorded it in Chicago, like with Steve Albini, and I met up with some of the people from that era and totally put it all to rest after 10 years. And a song came out of it, you know.
Steve's just like, he just doesn't mess about. If it sounds good, just stay there, you know, don't waste any more time, just capture the recording, you know. So. And when we did them songs, well, I didn't even really know that all the songs, when we did it with Steve Albini, I was like, we were just winging it in the studio, and I think we definitely captured that, like with the sound and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, that was the easiest and most fun recording session I think we've ever done. It was 3 days, 4 tracks, and it came out exactly as we wanted.
That's what was good about working with both Steve and Dave Fridman, is that every single member of the band was fully involved every day, because it wasn't like Ross did all his drum tracks and then like hung out by the pool for like a few weeks. It was like every day he was playing with us, you know, we were doing it all live. It's not being dogmatic as such, but I just prefer the discipline involved. You have to make decisions before you record, rather than just be like, oh, we'll just record everything and then we'll sort it all out later, you know. I don't like it. I like there to be a certain degree of urgency in the studio, you know. You shouldn't be in there for any longer than what you need to do.
It's really quite different. Steve is very much leaves all the decisions to the band.
When we went in with Albini, he said, what kind of record do you want to make? And we went, oh, we just want to do it all live. So as soon as there was one day when I was like, oh, I might want to put a guitar overdub down. It's like, okay, well, we can do that, but then it won't be a live record. So it made me think about it in that way, and I was like, you know, it's totally right, and I don't need to do it, so I didn't do it. Albini kind of has a very hands-off approach, where it's kind of like, oh, I'm just here to record you, you guys make the decisions, and I'll just do whatever you want. And a lot of people see that as him being like, kind of like cold or like, you know, like harsh, but it's really not. He always makes sure that you're happy, you know. He's always like, and I really appreciate his way of working.
The two different styles of producing kind of sat quite nicely, so it was an experiment that went well.
And I honestly don't know who I'd rather record with as well. You know, them two guys, you know, between them, I just can't think of, you know, another producer who can get a better drum sound than them guys, really.
When the second movement goes. I don't know how it would end yet, it'd probably a timpani roll. Yeah. I didn't know it at the time, but it wasn't the easiest period that the band has ever had as far as relationships go, you know, inter-band relationships and stuff. So I'm really glad that it went as well as what it did, you know. Well, I would like, to be honest, but I don't know, like...
If it's relevant.
I don't know, it's not that I don't know if it's relevant. I think it is, but I don't know whether or not it comes across as being too... I don't like feeling like, you know, you're saying things for effect or like you're saying things to specifically... you know, like sensationalise things or to make yourself appear more interesting than what you actually are. But yeah, we certainly, like, I feel like the last year of my life has been one of the strangest ones like ever, and it's kind of, it has kind of cost me absolutely everything, you know. But I have the band, you know, we have the band going good, and we have the record, and that's kind of all I was really thinking about. But you know, it's cost me my relationship, it's cost me, like, I don't live anywhere anymore. It's kind of it's like the dark subtext to the record, I guess, which I guess we haven't really even spoke about whatsoever, but definitely it was the thing that offset last year as being an overwhelmingly positive thing, because last year was a really great time for us, writing and recording. There was always that spectre of the fact that Ryan was unwell, and we all knew that. And the fact that he was deceiving us was a very difficult thing to make peace with when you were trying to be creative, you know. But I didn't accept that I had any issues until, like, right at the very last minute, because you don't want to do, you know, like, and no one really wants to. Things got pretty bad, but you know, I accept all that now, and I know it, and I don't want to sensationalise it, because we can have this on the documentary, of course, but it's like, people love that stuff, don't they? People love to make out as if things were more interesting than what it actually was. Unfortunately, in our situation, things were more interesting than what I even realised at the time, and I didn't know a lot of the conversations that were going on, you know, that I wasn't included on. That it's kind of, in some ways, like, from what I believe, like, it's lucky that some of these sessions even went ahead, you know. So we're brothers, you know, and we're all on the same page. And so, for the first time, to be dealing with the fact that somebody is alienated from the group and not really, you know, you feel bad even just talking behind people's back like that. Me and Ross would spend many hours just talking about the predicament, and you know, that it made things very difficult. It was a very weird time, but we're over that now. We self-produced some sessions at Abbey Road in London, which again was kind of like just really living out some kind of fantasy, to not just record at Abbey Road, but to be a producer there was really quite an amazing experience, to have like some really
phenomenal engineers just assisting you and helping you to create was really quick and really fun, and we went in there for 3 days to record.
After we'd finished the main body of the record, we were like, well, we still have all these like little bits left over, and like, well, we certainly like them, and we don't want to leave them off. So we came up with the idea of putting them all together into one long song, and figuring out how we can get from one part to the next.
We're in Studio 2 of Abbey Road, which is the, I guess that's the more well-known one, the Beatles one, and that's why we're here, because we're the new Beatles. I guess it makes up 4 songs on the record, but it was written and pieced together like a 115-minute work.
Which was really an interesting challenge, and it was really fun, especially when you realised that they were working together.
I just didn't like the idea of the album just being obvious, and like I think at the end it's, to just do like another 12-song record, stop, start. We've done that, and I know that's the standard format, but anything that's slightly different is kind of more exciting to us.
The California smile, you're the cake decorator.
What we're doing now is we're segueing from the first section into another song via a bridge from a previous song. So we're revisiting a song that shows up previously on the record to segue into a new song. And then we end that one, and then that's a straight segue straight into another new song.
Great that Abbey Road's got really good engineers. We have 3 people working on the session with us, and they just facilitate every idea we have our whim like pretty quickly. And we get kind of, like I said, it's manic, so we get kind of impatient. It's like, hey, we want to do this, we want to try that. So we subsequently recorded like 150 tracks of music or something in 3 days. It's definitely great that these sort of places still exist, There's this precious few of the big old studios left, especially with gear like this.
I do this pretty much every album. We go to the percussion store. Last time it was in Los Angeles where we're recording, this time it's in London. And I'm basically just have to go find a tambourine, but the perfect sounding tambourine. all the music shops are in London.
Sorry that it's taken years. We were victims of our own ideals. But I'd rather be tied to myself than to anyone else. Sorry that it's taken years.
And it happened to fall on mine and Gary's birthday as well, so there was a real sense of occasion about it. So, oh, we're in Abbey Road, in room 2, where the Beatles recorded. It's our birthday, and we're tackling like this 15-minute song with all these different movements, and it was really fun.
It was just weird showing up every morning and like there's kids outside like signing the walls, taking photographs, and then like we're just like signing in and going in the studio. And as a big Beatles fan, it was kind of, you know, it was a real big deal like for me to be recording in that place.
Not knowing how people will respond to it is the thing that fuels the creative process, I think.
So we want to strip things back, so that we have some, you know, pretty fierce punk rock songs on there, like very short songs, but then at the same time we had the Abbey Road song, which started life as a 15-minute track. We certainly didn't want to regress, because no one wants to regress, and that's very easy if you're making, you know, if you're like, oh, let's go back to our roots. That means, oh, let's make something that is oversimplified or that doesn't challenge us, and you know, we're not in the position to want to make that either. So it's kind of like a bit of both, really, but in no way a compromise.
The spirit of it and the feel of the record is much more akin to how we were when we first conceived the band, you know. So I think a lot of people have latched onto that element, but I still believe the record to be quite a significant progression on the last one, and I think that were we not doing that, I wouldn't want to put a record out.
We had specific people we wanted to work with, and we had a specific agenda to every single session that we went into, and it was mainly about trying to re-stamp the essence of what the band is about back on our record.
I actually don't know where there is to go after this record now, because like, you know, two of the best drum sounds I can think of are like Dave Fridman and Steve Albini.
It's kind of taken us all over the place, really, but I'm glad about that. I feel like we did reconnect as brothers and as a band, and you know, it wasn't the easiest time by any means, but I think we'll definitely look back on it as a particularly significant period of the band's career.
All my favourite records, the things I like the best are the little straggly bits, you know, and that's all intact on this record for definite.
beardy snobs want to judge me on like how horrendous that sounded, and I don't give a fuck. So that's the way it is. It's supposed to sound bad, and even if it didn't sound bad, I'm not trying to be good, so therefore I can't fail. So grade me as you must.